review of 4K stuff, we're going to take a look at Torchlight II. We've previously looked at Dirt Showdown, which if you get enough horsepower to keep you above 60 frames a second and don't have tearing, is preferable at 4K versus 1080p. Then we had Battlefield 4, which was not preferable because of the horsepower that was needed and the massive amounts of tearing, and real no discernible benefit, or a benefit you don't notice in the heated gameplay with going to 4K.
Right.
Then we got Natural Selection 2, which was the Destroyer's choice, and it was absolutely not recommended because of the UI issues on the HUD. The maps and menus and everything was tiny and largely unusable, especially if you're in a tournament where you have to make fast choices. So here we're going to look at Torchlight 2, see how it fares. We know that it does have a scalable UI. During the beta period, that was something that I actually talked with them about regarding multi-monitor support. So this is the opening screen, so everything here looks pretty good. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to delete this character. So when I go through the creation process real quick, you'll see that everything here is scaling nicely. It's not tiny. So it's either vector, 3D model, or it's at least set to a proportion and not a fixed pixel size. So if we go back, then we can say new game. You have an engineer. And again, everything on the UI is scaled properly. And what I'm going to look at here is the opening little intro scene. I think I've played this maybe 50 times because this is what I use to do benchmarking on the APUs. So here we have the intro movie. It's 16 by 9. It's not running in a small window boxed bit. It is stretching across there. You can see some pixelation in it. So it's obviously pre-rendered at 1080p. Not that big of a deal, but it's given it styling. But in the fine lines in her hair, you can see the jaggies and the pixels.
And I can see a bit of tearing.
Yeah. So here we have the game. All of the graphical eye candy is on. We're hitting 120 frames a second. The UI down here is smallish, and we actually looked at this earlier, so it's retained those settings. The UI is at 50%, which is as small as you can get. When you start off at 100 and you apply, you can see how large the UI elements get, and is really obstructive of your view. So in 90 actually may be the default. Yeah, 90 is the default because that puts the orbs here in the center. Still rather large, I would say, for my play style or my preference. And you here can go all the way down to 50. And we have VSync is off, but everything else is on.
So the text is at a readable size. It's not ridiculously small. I can read it without having to move closer to the monitor.
You can see the mini-map up here. It's a decent size. You can zoom in.
I still think 50% would be a bit small for me. I think I'd be running at 60 or 70.
So let's see what that looks like. So let's
try 70.
So that's 60. And that's 70.
I think now I can make out what things are easily without having to try.
Okay. Here on the map, you press it's M, so you can see the map is over here now, and you can zoom in and out on that, and then it's over here. And this again is a great function on multi-monitor because it throws it on your side monitors. Now it's off, now it's up in the corner, and then here it is in the middle. But like natural selection, your enemies were red points, and they were probably 1 pixel, and you couldn't see them. But you can still see the icons in the markers here very clearly.
And I mean, on a game like Torchlight, which is sort of, you know, quite polygony, the sprites are actually really quite detailed. Like, I wasn't sure how much 4K would actually improve the Torchlight experience, because it's like, it's not a, like it's quite a, you know, I guess a blocky or polygony type game.
Right, it's not realistic, it's not like, it's more akin to World of Warcraft in its style than it is to, say, Battlefield 4 that's going for realism.
Right, but you can see the detail in the actual sprites. You know, all the characters are amazingly crisp and detailed, which was a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect that, but it's really nice.
Yeah, see, if we zoom in, you can see a large amount of detail. Some of this I may not have even noticed before. You can see the little smoke coming off of her pack here, the wire on the monocle. You can see some of the detailing here on the hammer and the textures on the boots and the cat.
Right.
I will say, from having played this a bunch, I mean, the fire looks really good, the smoke looks really good, but the thing that struck me is the rain. I mean, the drops are very tiny now, coming down. So instead of being more of just sort of white blobs or white streaks, the rain looks more realistic to me in that it's fine and tiny, like a raindrop would be. So here we've just leveled up, and again you can see here the elements on the UI. You can open them both at once. Everything is easily readable, and I would say for Torchlight, 4K would be recommended. You know, if this is a game you really like, or this style of game, like maybe Exile, or there was a Titan game or something. The old, I can't even remember. Maybe even Diablo 3. I mean, in that sense,
Yeah.
you know, each game is going to have its own UI quirks. But if the art is done well, this style of game would lend itself to a more immersive, crisper experience.
And I haven't really seen much tearing at all. There's really very little. I mean, from the odd time to time you will get a little bit, but it's certainly not on the scale that Battlefield 4 was.
You can see here, we're pretty much in a fairly heavy firefight, or I guess firefight with kobolds and flaming arrows is accurate. But our FPS is still north of 60. We're still at 70, 75 frames a second. When all that action's not going on, you know, we're running around at 80 or 90. So I think a lot of this has to do with the horsepower that's required.
Right. But I think the scalable UI is like the perfect implementation for 4K. You get to choose what you like. So regardless of how big or small you want it, you can make it how you like. Whereas other games, you just get what you get. And some games, that happens to be good, and games like Natural Selection 2, it happens to be virtually unplayable.
So there's another level up there that we'll just ignore. But it's very well playable and very well.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you're getting your value out of the 4K monitor.
And here we come up to the end of the little intro level, and this will be the end of the video. So, well recommended, I would say.
Yeah.